Howdy y'all, Jeff here at Back to Country. You know, growing up country, I learned at a young age that a sharp pocket knife has a lot of value. And I had to learn to sharpen that knife because they don't stay sharp by themselves. But you know the problem with the old way of sharpening knives, I used to spend hours sharpening it with a whetstone, and of course prior to that learning how to even get it sharp. A lot of trial and error and years of practice to be able to use a whetstone and to keep a knife sharp. And of course as the years went by and I got more and more knives and a lot of kitchen knives as well, I got to the point where when Lorena would say it's time to sharpen the knives, I would sometimes spend an entire day just sitting down sharpening knives one after another. And to be honest with you, I didn't really like it. So I tried a whole lot of different knife sharpeners along the way, and I gotta be honest, I was disappointed with just about every one of them. Until I found the Work Sharp, I don't know what you call this thing, the Work Sharp sharpener, electric sharpener, belt sharpener, I don't know. The Work Sharp knife sharpener. They got a whole bunch of different ones, but this one that uses belts was a pretty good knife sharpener. And I've had this thing for over 10 years. I don't know how long total now, but over 10 years. And unfortunately the other day it broke. So basically it's got this little plastic wheel that the belt goes around, and it sits on a bearing and connects to this other wheel, which is connected to the motor, and you got a belt in here, and it broke. I still really like this sharpener. Now this sharpener here is the Mark I. It's the first sharpener that they made in this series of electric belt sharpeners, and like I say, I've had it for over 10 years, gotten a lot of use out of it, and it really works well. If I had to say there's a flaw in it, well, obviously this little wheel that has broken, that's a flaw. And I can see that the other wheel that sits on the motor, it's got some cracks in it, so who knows how much longer that's gonna last. I still really love the product. I'm not sponsored by the company. I do this simply because I like the product. So this was their original one. They've made some improvements. They now have a Mark II that has some improvements in it. But if I was going to buy a new one, I decided that I was going to go all the way and buy their best one. So I ordered this Ken Onion Series Elite sharpener. And basically what comes in that series is the Ken Onion Edition sharpening tool, this blade grinding attachment, and a stropping belt set. So if you've ever sharpened knives by hand and then to get them super sharp, run them over a leather belt or something, that's what the stropping kit should do. So let's open this up and see what we got here, and maybe we can note some differences between the old Mark I versus the Ken Onion Edition. So here's the sharpener right out of the box. And the first thing I can tell you is it's bigger. I mean, if we compare the two, we can see that there's quite a good size difference in the motor. So I'm going to guess that that motor has more horsepower, however you want to look at it. It can probably run longer. It's heavier. I see it's got an adjustable speed trigger. It's got a button to lock the trigger on. The old one all it had was just a simple trigger, 1 speed, nothing special. Now they have since come out with a Mark II that I do believe has adjustable speed and some other improvements. Not sure what all those are, but like I say, we went for the big one and bought the Ken Onion. Now, one big difference, this whole sharpening mechanism comes off. So if one of these wheels was to break or something, it only has one wheel, I see. The other one is the metal on here. So if this was to break, I mean, most likely it would be something on here, and I would hope that you could buy another attachment. Other big differences, I see you've got a dial here to adjust your degree angle on your gauge, whatever you want to call it, template. So when you you know, run your knife through the sharpener, it's got an edge guide. I believe that helps to keep it steady and not round your tips off. You can change your looks like at least you can go down to 15 degrees up to 30. So that's pretty significant. 15 to 30, that's what it says on there. Another thing that's different is that the belt, this belt is wider. So here's the belts from the old one, and this belt is about 1/4 of an inch thicker, so I believe these are 1/2 inch belts. These are 3/4 inch. So overall, I mean, just the fact that you can separate these two parts, adjustable speed motor, that's some big improvements I see right out of the box. If we come over here and we open up this grinding attachment, now this is what makes it the Elite. And so here's what the attachment looks like out of the box. First thing I can tell you is this is all metal. These wheels here are plastic, but everything else is metal. I do see that there's Allen wrenches on those. They can come off, so hopefully they are replaceable, because this by itself, if you already have a Ken Onion attached Ken Onion sharpener, you can just buy this attachment for it, and I want to say it's about 80 bucks. You might be able to find it for around 75, I don't know. But as a set, I think you save about 10 bucks from buying it all separate, maybe a little more because they throw in the stropping kit. So first thing, let's see if we can attach this thing here. Okay, so it's a matter of lining up the pieces properly. Okay, so that's on there. And these belts are even bigger. So these are 1 inch wide by 18 inches long. So that's the biggest belts out of all the sharpeners. And I'll tell you, one of the things that initially attracted me to the Work Sharp sharpeners you know, is looking at how the pros do it. They use big belt sharpeners to sharpen knives, to shape knives, etc. And so, I mean, this is the closest thing out there to how they do it. So I guess, you know, you just set it on a table, it sets together, and once it's together, that should be fine. It's got a deal that you screw on to do something. I guess it just fills the bowl. I don't think it holds it together at all. And grab a belt here. Now this belt is an extra fine 12,000 grit belt, so that would be like the final belt that you would use. And so that goes on pretty easy, and I can see that overall, I mean, there's a lot of sharpening space. The theory is you set your degrees. On this right now it's set at 25 degrees. I don't think that would be proper for this knife, but if it was, you got a guide here that's a flat surface. Set your knife on the flat surface, and then it's just a matter of getting used to bringing your knife up and running your edge across the belt. The nice thing is, again, that you can change the angles. This will do from 10 to 35 degrees, so that's a pretty wide range. Of course, then I guess it's a matter of trying to understand, you know, what's the degrees of my sharp blade. Now, in the initial or original basic kin onion deal, they do give you this nice printout that kind of tells you different degrees and stuff. So, you know, here it says everyday carry, 25-degree angle, medium speed. You can also, if it's dull, slow it down to low speed, low or medium, and it tells you which belts to use. Hunting knife, how beat up is your knife, neglected or dull. Again, that says 25 degree. Here's some kitchen and fillet knives. Chopping, 20 degree, slicing, 20 degree, and it just kind of breaks down some basics of what belts to use, what degrees to use. But the concept is the same. So I think it said your everyday carry is 25 degrees. So it's set at 25 degrees now. So basically, again, I would take my knife, use the guide, move it up, try to hold the same degree, and move it across the belt. So the concept seems simple enough. I'm sure it takes some getting used to, especially when you switch it over the other way. I can tell I moved it right there. Is getting used to, again, bringing it up flat. So that's something you just got to practice, and you may want to practice with a knife that you don't love as much, and you might want to use something like this. I mean, this is the extra fine. You obviously don't want to use coarse. Using your coarse 120 grit. Here's a X65 coarse. So there's some different levels of coarseness in here. Quite a few belts. So that's a big difference too. With the old one, I mean, you could get a lot of different belts for it. I think I primarily only used the fine and the medium. So the fine grit was, if I remember correctly, it was a 6,000 grit was your fine or extra fine. On the yeah, so extra fine 6,000 grit. Now this is for the Ken Onions, so these belts are bigger than the original belts. You got extra fine, says X4, X22 is medium, X65 coarse, extra coarse is your 120 grit. So I do know from playing with the old one that if you put on the coarse belt that you could really grind off some material. So if you were, say, working on a new knife that you were building, or maybe something that was really pitted, or you know you had really messed up your knife, goofing off and hit some steel or something and knocked a chunk out of it, and you really needed to reshape the blade, then maybe you would use that coarse belt. But under normal circumstances, if you use the coarse belt, it just removed too much material. I used it for like sharpening an axe one time, stuff like that. I don't think I ever used it on an actual knife because I didn't have anything that was that dull. Of course, the stropping belt kit. Now I'm kind of curious if this belt is, yeah, so this belt, the stropping goes with this setup here because it's a 1" by 18. So you've got your extra fine, this one that I put on that is a 12,000 grit, and then these cloth belts are ultra fine. And of course they actually come with a couple of chunks of honing compound and polishing compound. So you know, if you've ever used like a buffer or whatever, that's the same concept. And you should be able to get your knives razor sharp with this thing. So we're gonna figure all this stuff out, get it together, and then we'll sharpen some knives and test it out, see how it works. Stick with us, let's see how it goes. Alright folks, so we've got our knife sharpener set up here. In test runs, I found that the vibration, it wanted to walk across the counter. But I had this knife sharpening mat that actually fits perfect, so I put this rubber mat underneath it, and that stops it from walking. So let's sharpen a knife. Okay, so I just did 6 passes on each side. I don't know that there's any set number. It's just what I did. That was starting out with a medium grit, so it's the X22 medium grit belt. Now I'm going to move down to a finer belt. I don't see the numbering on this thing. So this is the next finest. I don't know what number it is. I think it's an X65 or something, but not sure. But basically the fine, the super fine or whatever is 12,000 grit. So this is probably around a 6,000 grit. So it's pretty fine. Put it on. Check to make sure it stays centered. It doesn't, so we'll have to adjust that. So far it's feeling pretty good. Now I'm going to switch it to the super fine 12,000 grit. Again, I just adjusted it. Feels pretty sharp. Okay, regular piece of paper. Let's see what'll happen here. There we go. What do you think? Sharp? Ripped it there. I think that's more technique than anything. I think it's sharp. I think a chef's knife isn't the best for cutting paper, but it's sharp. Alright, one other update, folks. I was able to reach out to the company through a contact form on their website, and they did tell me that this actually comes off, and so I was able to remove the sharpening cassette, and for $15 they even gave me free shipping. I was able to get a replacement. So that's pretty cool. And just put it back on. And bam. Good as new. So now I have the old sharpener and the new sharpener, and so this one's gonna go in the RV. Cool. Only 15 bucks to fix it. I guess I didn't have to spend the 200 on the upgrade, but I'm pretty happy with the upgrade, so it's all good. As always, folks, we appreciate you watching our videos. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. That's how you support our channel. Regardless, as always, God bless. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.